Okay, Mars freaks and space geeks. Today I've got a new find for you, and it's one of many that I've shown over the years, and right here. It's from Sol 363. This is the Perseverance rover, and what we have here is a dead Martian soldier in a crested helmet. Now, I've shown a bunch of these before, and they don't all have crested helmets. Some have more like bassinet helmets, some have what look almost like modern helmets. Now this is raw, so there's no colour added or anything to this. This is completely raw. I'm just going to show you with the magnifier. There it is. Now it's not obvious what you're looking at straight away. And it took me a while to figure out what this is, because it's looking upwards like this. The same object, but very slightly different angle. You can see the helmet coming round like this. This is the left one, this is the right one. They're very slightly different, but they're both the same, if you know what I mean. Okay? Here's the left one. Got a mouth here with teeth in it. There's the eye. The helmet comes up and over, and it has a crest on the back. An animalistic kind of design on the top there. Not sure what it is, but it might be a fish, it might be another creature, I don't know. Now, if you follow the links on this, here, this will take you to this Gigapan, the Fallen Warriors of Mars. Now, I took a lot of time on this, and what I've done is I've got a whole bunch of these helmets, or dead warriors, or dead soldiers, whatever you want to call them, dead aliens, wearing helmets in this Gigapan here. And I've put a whole bunch of them together. Now, this is also Perseverance rover. This is 716. Mast left and mast right, but this is enhanced, right? So you should be able to see these things better, because I've already enhanced the images here and added blue and darkened them to make them look more natural, okay? And here, up on the ridge, let's look at the top one first. We have this. Now, I have shown this before. I showed it very briefly a few years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, and right on the top of this ridge here. Now this is quite a long way off, so it looks very small, but in reality this is large. This is 2 or 3 times the size of a human skull. Okay, so if this was a human wearing a crested helmet, it's very large. This is something like 1.5 foot tall. Okay, it's well over 1 foot tall. Now, the average human skull from, say, there would be about 8 or 9 inches. This is double that, maybe 3 times. I don't know exactly, but it's much bigger. And this looks metallic, and has a perfect crest shape to it. We have a humanoid-shaped face to it, and a perfect curved crest. And if we look at the one below, this one may be slightly clearer. There is a slight difference between the left and right Gigapans. And there isn't a lot of detail in this because it's a long way off, but you can see the shape, you can see the ear, you can see a nose, you can see a chin here, and we can see this crest coming round with a lovely curve to it. Not very clear, I appreciate that. It's a long way off. Unfortunately, most of these things we see are at middle distance. Now, if they're in the foreground, it's a different story altogether. There's also this new one here, which I didn't spot when I first did this years ago. Right here. Now, this may or may not be, but it looks like another one, another crested helmet, right there. The nose guard coming down there. But there seems to be some objects just in front of it, obscuring it, right? Just here, like there's a little rock there and another one there. So I'm not 100% about that because we can't see enough of it. But it looks like another one, and it's on the same ridge as this one. And it's even bigger than this one. So there's this one right on top, and you go over the hump here, and there's another one on the slope here. Just there. I've shown this one before in a bunch of videos. This one's got breathing gear, breathing apparatus coming out of his nose, wearing a helmet that's broken. And if I go back a little bit and show you with the magnifier, there it is. A lot of you will recognise this one. It's got a squarish helmet at the back. It's got this angle here, almost like a box. Coming down here, there's the eye. There's the mouth. There's a nose here with an object attached to it, like some kind of breathing apparatus, okay? Some people have said it looks like it might be a spider or a bug or something. It may be. But what I think these are, and I have shown a bunch of these, is dead soldiers. They've been blown up and decapitated or something. A lot of the heads look almost like they're put on display. But also that the Martians, when they buried warriors or even normal people, I think, they would put the head in like a little chamber with rocks piled up around it, okay? Like a little burial chamber, like a little dolmen. It looks like a lot of them are arranged, and I think the bodies were separated. They were decapitated and buried with just the head showing at the front of the chamber, and maybe the rest of the body and bones were just piled up behind or buried below. I'm not sure. We haven't found that many bodies. There are examples of bodies, and I'll show you one in a minute. This isn't a dead soldier. This is an actual statue or sculpture of a warrior with a shield, okay? And when you follow these, you can get to the videos. Each of these images has not only a video link at the top, but we also have a pan link for each one as well. Let's check that one out. This is spectacular, this one. And interestingly enough, there's a dead body right here with a head also. All right, you've got the head there, with mouth and eye detail, nose here, and the body is buried just here, but we've got a shoulder and a part of the back here, right? Now it helps if we go back a little bit. I'll do that again because I think I was a bit over zoomed there. There we are. There's the head, mummified, shriveled, dried out. So these things freeze on the ground and then dry out and desiccate and are preserved, okay? You can see two clear eyes there. There's the mouth and chin. There's a shoulder and the back, just there. And it goes into the sand. You can actually see a ridge in the sand here. But that statue of the warrior, I call it the warrior knight, or knight statue, okay? Because that's what it is. There it is, left and right. The left one, I think you can see certain things better. And the same with the right one, depending on what part you're looking at. There is a slight discrepancy in the shadows, obviously, because they're slightly different angle. But this not only has a helmet, or the depiction of a helmet, but a crest on the back, like a mane on the back, like you get on a cavalry captain or something like that, with the horsehair coming down the back. Or something like that, right? There he is. You can see that eye just there. Look at the eye. And we got a point to the helmet at the front. Comes up, nice curve at the back. We got a mane on the back. And a shield here. And the shoulder there. Okay, so even in the raw clip there, you can see that detail. You just got to look carefully. I stumbled across this one again the other day, and this is one of the reasons I redid this Gigapan, to show you some of the newer finds, and some that a lot of you may not have seen. Now this one's really cool, right? Check this out. Now this one has a very elaborate helmet. There's the actual raw clip there, and here's the enhanced clip. There's an actual head of an alien in there with a set of teeth and a mouth. You can see the mouth and teeth there. There's the teeth. There's an eye there, right? And a large helmet with big cheek guards coming down, one here and one here. It goes right up to here. Now, like I said before, A lot of these were buried in like a little chamber, and this is a chamber just here, right? You can actually see this is part of a chamber, and if you click on the Gigapan link, it will actually show you the whole thing, right? Now, unfortunately, this Gigapan is in black and white. This is Curiosity rover, Sol 3478, mast right, head in helm, right? There it is, and you can actually see here that this may have been covered over in like a little box kind of chamber on this ridge here. And there are other things that look like they might be similar objects. There's one here. There's one here. There's like rows of them. This is near that Mars doorway that I did that went viral a couple of years back. It's right nearby that Mars doorway entrance thing, which I think is the entrance to a burial chamber, which is why it's quite small. There it is, right? So there it is in situ, and you can actually see that this may have been a chamber here because we got this part sticking out here, and it goes in like this, like a little square chamber on this slope. So there may have been a whole row of burials here on this slope, and this is just one of them, right? There it is. You can't see it very well in black and white, which is why you need to colorise these things sometimes. This is a new enhancement of that. I mean, that's just insane. Look at the detail. I'll go right in for you. Look at that face. Row of teeth, two eyes. And the helmet is quite elaborate, right? It seems to have like ear-like shapes to it, or horns. It may have had horns on it. Who knows? Interesting, right? And there's another one here. This is a recent one. A lot of you may have seen this. This was actually spotted on the slope right near where the Ingenuity helicopter conked out when it crashed recently, right? And you can see it if you follow these links. The actual Ingenuity helicopter is right here with its broken blade just there. If you use a magnifier, you can see it. It's quite a long way off. That's the Ingenuity helicopter. It landed there, and that's where it's going to stay. Okay, so that will eventually be covered in sand. But these may have been covered in sand for a very long time. But because they're on a slope, the sand is kind of blown down off the slope, exposing them. So a lot of these things could have been buried for many thousands of years. And this one is weird because this doesn't have a crest or anything on this helmet. Very little detail on the helmet here. It's quite smooth. And I'll show you on here, look. Here we are. It's got the head still in the helmet. And even in the raw image, you can see that the facial part here is a different colour to the helmet. And when you enhance it, it's a different colour. So we have two different types of material. So this is metallic, the blue, and we have a sort of brownish, slightly shriveled face here. We've got a little nose, just there, bridge of the nose, but not much detail. And here is that skull that I showed in the previous video, one of them, on the same ridge, with a set of teeth there, a large set of teeth, incisors, two nostrils, two eyes, absolutely crazy. So what this one does show really well is the actual helmet shape, because it's a nice angle to look at it from. We're actually seeing the top of the helmet quite well, that crest, and the sort of neck guard part here. And on the right one, you can see the same stuff, but slightly different. So the crest on top has got little spikes on it as well. If you look carefully, you can see these little kind of nodules or spikes or something. So that had some interesting details on it. You can see just there, like a row of them, right? Mental. Absolutely crazy detail. And there's also some others here. I'm not going to go into much detail about these. You've probably seen these. I found this one years ago. The Mars battle helmet. This is a different type of helmet again. And they do bear a very close resemblance in design to some of the helmets we have on Earth, like this one here. This is a Greek helmet, I think, this one, on the top right. I just put it there because the thing is with this, when you enhance it, it goes that bronze colour, right? It's got that bronze, it's got a shine on the top of it like this. So it's metal and there's a bronzy kind of colour. It may not be bronze, but that's what happens when you enhance it, right? It's crazy. It's got that reflection on top. So this is a helmet. Because look at that reflection, it matches this one. Right? And it's got the nose guard, which is bent. So this may have been smashed in the face, this one, with a blunt weapon like a mace or a hammer or an axe or who knows. This is another one in a helmet. It's got a cheek guard coming down here, and this one's actually got something coming out of his mouth also. Breathing apparatus just there. If I go back, I'll show you with the magnifier. There's the eye, there's the nose, and there's the mouth, and there's a tube coming out of his mouth. A lot of Martians actually survived the nuclear war that happened there, whenever it was, a million or so years ago. And they had further wars later on because a lot of these things don't look that old. Now, when I say not that old, I mean they only look about 5,000 or 10,000 years old. Now, bear in mind that the conditions on Mars are conducive for things to survive on the surface for a very long time indeed because it's so dry and it's very cold. So these things preserve perfectly and could probably last up to sort of about 50,000 years on the surface before they completely just crumble away. But basically, I don't think these things are as old as the nuclear war that Dr. John Brandenburg has theorised, which I do believe is true. But I think some of them survived. I think a lot of them were wiped out in that war, but I think a lot of them survived and they carried on warring. And I still think there's activity there now. Some of the actual UFOs that I've shown recently are still flying around up there, and some of them got bit wings, like winged aircraft. Some of these UFOs are coming right up to the rover, so there's something going on up there. Just because we see lots of things on the ground that are dead or ancient, like these statues and dead warriors all over the place, right, doesn't mean they're all dead. I think there's still some there. If you landed on an alien planet and just happened to land in the middle of a graveyard, would you assume that everyone's dead? Because that's basically what the rovers have done, both of them. They've landed right in the middle. Both of them have landed in craters which were inhabited. And there are dead creatures, dead people, dead soldiers, dilapidated and buried buildings, and all sorts of things on the ground all over the place, including weapons. So there obviously was a lot of warfare going on here. The question is, are there still people there now? I think there probably are. And I think that the UFO activity is evidence that there is still life on Mars. They may be being operated remotely like drones, but I do think there's still something going on. And often these things flying around in Gale Crater especially can be seen chasing each other. And I've shown examples of that. Usually it's a long way off in the distance, but sometimes they come in quite close. And some of the interceptor drones that I've shown recently, I've shown the same one on 3 occasions over the course of a couple of years, coming back again and again. And I've shown it from multiple angles. So these things are coming in close to the rovers and listening to them and are up to something, right? Who knows? Now, most of these are sort of life size or human size, I would say. This one's probably a bit bigger. This one's human size. The new one here, the crested one, that's human size, almost exactly. As is this, maybe a bit bigger. This one's a bit bigger. This one's bigger. But the actual head inside is probably human size. It's just a very large helmet. But they may have had very large elongated heads, this particular type, as I've shown in other skulls, right? Warriors and dead bodies and things on the ground look like the war debris of a war that didn't happen that long ago. I wouldn't say it was millions of years ago. I wouldn't say it was even 20,000 years ago. I would say it was no later or no earlier than about 12,000 years ago. Because I really don't see how these would stay in such good condition. I mean, maybe they would, I don't know, if it's that cold and that dry. And these things, like I've said, preserve extremely well on the ground. But are they 500,000 years old? No. More like somewhere between 10 and 20. Around 12. I've been collecting these things for many years now. I have the largest collection of artifacts, Mars artifacts, in the world, in detail. And they're all categorized and they're all organized for you. So if you want to look at one particular thing like glyphs, there's a whole bunch of videos about that. There's about 20 of those. Skulls, there's about 100. Statues, there's over 100. Buildings, there's over 100 videos on that. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of videos. Over 1,200, I think now, on my channel. And they're all in playlists. And you can check all these things out and cross-reference them. You can check out the Gigapans. They all have Gigapan links and image links. They all have quite detailed descriptions as well. So you can compare the descriptions, how they've changed over the years and how the sizes match up and how these things look similar. You can compare the images back to back and really get a good picture now of what was going on the surface and what's left on the surface. Not only UFOs, but dead creatures, some of which we just don't understand, like this new one, this Mars skull up close. So check that out. Let me know what you think, because I don't know. I'm suggesting it may be an ape, but it may not be. I'm just using that as a sort of size comparison, really, right? So we don't always know what these things are, and it is a struggle for me sometimes to work out what these things are, and we can only really compare them to things that we have seen on Earth, whether in art or whether in wildlife or in fiction or whatever. We can only do that. So we're probably missing a lot of things on the ground because they're so different to what we're used to seeing on Earth that we just don't recognize them. So bear that in mind. It may seem that I have a lot of stuff here, but this is only half, not even half of my material. A lot of it's too far away and not clear enough. I'm only showing you the better, more up close and more detailed objects that we can gain some information from. So thanks for watching, everybody. Check out the links below to the Gigapans, and on the Gigapans, don't forget to follow the links to the other pans and videos from here. They're all linked together. There are too many of these for it to be pareidolia. This is the real deal. These things are there. I don't always understand exactly why they're there or what they are, but these things are not natural. They're alien objects and remains on the surface of another planet, the planet Mars. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.